Hi, welcome to On the Scene. Today we're going to be speaking with two of our newest department directors, Mark Furlo, Director of Suffolk Parks and Recreation, and Chief Michael J. Barakey, Suffolk Fire and Rescue. All of this when we come back. Hi, welcome back to On the Scene. Joining us now is Mark Furlo, Director of Suffolk Parks and Recreation. Mark, it's so great to have you back with us again. I know I was looking back as far as so excited when the city manager made the announcement about your coming back as director, and I couldn't believe that it's been 10 years since you were here with the city of Suffolk.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that long at all, does it?
It truly doesn't, and I know, of course, after you left the city, of course, you were with us for, what, 7, 8 years, I think, initially? And
yeah, 7 years.
So then went on to Isle of Wight,
Correct.
director there?
Yeah, I was the Director of Parks and Recreation there for 7 years, and then I went to Portsmouth for almost 3 years.
Well, it's interesting as far as with the demographics. You figure Isle of Wight, of course, you've got a lot of land and whatnot, so comparable to Suffolk in terms of the ability to develop land and whatnot. But then I guess with your demographics with Portsmouth, as far as population levels, they were relatively close. So.
Yeah. We had about the same population in the city of Portsmouth. Not a whole lot of room to grow, though. Portsmouth is pretty landlocked. Where here in Suffolk, I think we're poised to really grow population-wise. So.
Now, interesting as far as coming from, leaving here, then going to the two other departments and whatnot. I'm sure there was, helpful information, tips, that type of thing that you picked up at each. What do you think you learned from each location that you're bringing back, with you to Suffolk today?
Oh, gee. So just being a department head, you learn a whole lot. Presenting to elected officials, that's a skill that I don't know if anybody ever fully masters, but you get more comfortable with over time. Just becoming familiar with the different policies and procedures. And every locality is different, has different policies and procedures, but at least you kind of, working in government at that level, you know what you should be looking for.
Certainly.
When it comes to policies. But
definitely learned, like you said, definitely learned something and brought back from each then, for sure.
Yeah, and we had a chance to really develop some nice parks, some really, really cool facilities, both in Portsmouth and in Isle of Wight. One of the parks that I worked on in Portsmouth was Paradise Creek Nature Park, and that was one of my favorite projects. It was a really neat collaboration with the Elizabeth River Project, and really learned a lot about collaborating with different groups and how to bring that together to really to build something really neat.
Now, I know one thing that, as I mentioned, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since you were technically with the city of Suffolk. During that time frame, what was the most surprising as far as, because of course, you were in other cities, other jurisdictions, and then coming back to the city of Suffolk, what was the most surprising, I guess, development or thing that had changed for you within that 10-year time frame?
Just the growth of the department. The Suffolk Parks and Recreation is accredited now, and that was a huge accomplishment for the department. And seeing the growth that has happened there in the department and the way that they do things and the level of professionalism. We were always a very professional department, but just that it seems like it has really, really stepped up with that accreditation process.
So definitely something that I know the entire city is proud of. Not everybody can boast that you are a nationally accredited Parks and Recreation group, for sure.
Yeah, Suffolk Parks and Rec was one of the first in the state of Virginia to get accredited. I think that maybe the fourth or fifth, somewhere like that. So it's not something that a lot of departments are able to do.
Now, with that as far under your belt, so to speak, as far as that wonderful accomplishment for the city, what direction do you see Suffolk Parks and Recreation going in as we head into the year 2020? It's hard to even believe, we're saying that 2020, but.
Yeah, we've got a lot of exciting projects that are going on right now that I'm really looking forward to being a part of. The Suffolk Seaboard Coastline Trail is huge. And that project in particular really excites me. If you think about, because that's not just a Suffolk project, it's a collaboration with cities of Chesapeake, Portsmouth, and Norfolk. This trail will eventually link up all 4 of those cities, and then maybe even Virginia Beach at some point. So that's a really exciting project. The new recreation center at Bennett's Creek is very exciting. Currently we have 2 standalone recreation centers, one in Whaleyville and one at East Suffolk, and we're working on our 3rd in northern Suffolk. Improving water access is also a big thing. We've got a lot of water around here, and then the aquatic study. That's something that the department has gone through, looking at adding an aquatic facility. So it's just a lot of really exciting things going on, and I'm glad that I'm going to get to be a part of that. So.
Well, pretty interesting as far as looking back at your history, as far as how you first began with Parks and Rec. Weren't you a lifeguard way back when, as far as it kind of when you cutting your teeth on the whole Parks and Rec, work effort and so forth?
Yeah, that is how I started out. I grew up in Michigan, and my first job, well, besides a paper route, my first job was as a lifeguard and swimming instructor for the Saginaw Recreation Department in Michigan, and I lifeguarded at the high school pool and taught swimming lessons there. So, yeah, it's my background had always been in aquatics. I was a competitive swimmer, and so the aquatic facility is really kind of close to home for me. So.
And I know it's something that's so many people. I know that's one of the first things as far as a wish list that we get from folks, especially when you think about the growth here in our city. So many people coming in. They're looking for that aquatics aspect for Parks and Rec. So I know it's something you all are really excited about.
Yeah, and the study that they did, I think that over 90% of the citizens were in favor of the aquatic facility, which is rare. I mean, you don't see that level of support for recreation amenities all the time. So I think that's going to be a really exciting project.
Well, and when we talk about exciting projects, I know there have been so many different ribbon cuttings just in recent years. And I know you mentioned as far as the amount of water that is in our city and how much our citizens enjoy that access. But between kayak launches and fishing piers and whatnot, it's been pretty exciting. We've cut several ribbons here in these last few years for those types of facilities.
Oh yeah. I'm looking forward. I haven't been up yet to the new kayak launch at Sleepy Hole. I've seen the one at Constance Wharf. I'm looking forward to getting up to Sleepy Hole and getting a chance to see that kayak launch. But it's that you're really seeing a lot of that, not just in Suffolk, but across the region. A lot more people are looking for that access to the water to do kayaking or canoeing and things like that.
Well, it's interesting that you say as far as getting up there, you've talked about hitting the ground running. You've only been with us now back for just a little over 2 weeks.
Yes.
So it has definitely, you were fortunate you didn't have quite that learning curve as far as getting to know the city. But with a city 430 square miles, there's a lot for folks to get out and to really enjoy.
Yeah. My goal is to get out to all the facilities, just to kind of familiarize myself with the different facilities, but also some of the new facilities too that I haven't seen. And I'm well on my way. I'd say I've been out to at least probably over 60-70% of the facilities that the department oversees.
So again, getting back to the whole aspect of as far as kind of what has surprised you the most and what direction that you'd like to go in, is there one thing stand out more than another? I know we talked about, of course, the aquatics facility, but in that kind of wish list, that thing that you really would like to see take place, anything stand out for you? I'm a big trail guy, so the trail project is probably the one that I'm most excited about, and the fact that there's regionalism associated with that, and that we're going to tie into all the different localities, and at some point you'll be able to ride your bike if you wanted to. It's a pretty long ride, but all the way from Norfolk, from the close to where the Norfolk International Terminals are by the Navy base, all the way to the Suffolk Seaboard Rail Station right down the street from us right now on Main. So I know my husband and I took advantage of it once the trail first opened and did some riding, and just beautiful scenery and just nice, quiet, laid back. You can kind of go at your own pace, and it just very enjoyable. It truly is.
Yeah, I came out and I did some sections of the trail with my son, and we had a great time.
Well, and it's interesting, you talk about doing it with your son or, with family and so forth. Not many things that you can still have that bonding experience and really get out and enjoy nature, but certainly with our Parks and Rec facilities, as I said, there's something for everybody, all ages.
Yeah, and we've got some great facilities here in Suffolk with Lone Star, our regional parks like Lone Star, Bennett's Creek, and Sleepy Hole, and Lake Mead even. It's just, you've got some real phenomenal opportunities to get out and enjoy nature, and there's been tons of studies that have shown that time spent in the outdoors and in nature has tons of benefits.
Well, and I could certainly see that. I mean, whether you're, shopping or at a mall or at a restaurant or whatever, we see so many of our kids just tuned in, as far as with the electronics and devices and cell phones. It's nice to be able to set that all aside and really get out and enjoy each other's company as well as being out in nature. So.
Definitely, I agree.
Now, we mentioned as far as, the wish list and things that we would like to happen. Any information that you'd like to kind of leave our viewers with as far as maybe something they didn't know about you before?
I'm not sure if there's any information about myself that I'd like to, but I am really excited to be back, and I'm excited at what's going on in Suffolk, and that I have the opportunity to be a part of this again. It really feels like coming home. I didn't realize how much I missed the city of Suffolk until I got back and started seeing old friends and people that I used to work with. So it's been really great.
Well, again, Mark, it's great having you back with us in the city of Suffolk as Director of Parks and Recreation. And again, welcome back to the Suffolk family.
Thank you, Diana.
We'll be back with more on the scene in just a moment. Welcome back to On the Scene. Joining us now is Chief Michael J. Barakey. Chief, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's been great having you with us here now since October 1st, your official date with us here with the Chief of the Suffolk Fire and Rescue. Tell us, if you would, what's been the most interesting thing that you've learned thus far being with us here in our city?
The most interesting thing that I've learned is the collaboration between the department directors, city government, certainly the manager. This fire rescue department doesn't exist because of red fire trucks and firefighters and ambulances. It exists because it's an integral part of city services, and certainly the relationships that we have with all the departments and directors has made my life very easy so far. But it's been the most interesting part is that collaboration, and I'm really not used to that style of collaboration as a department, because many times departments silo and they get stuck in what they do. But certainly in Suffolk right now, the fire department is just one of 14 departments that work for the greater whole, and I've really enjoyed that part of it so far.
Well, and as I said, I know as director of our Media and Community Relations Department, it's just been such a pleasure working with you, and hard to believe now for, gosh, over 8 years now as far as Public Information Officer, working directly with the amazing men and women of Suffolk Fire and Rescue. And as I said, you've inherited a great group of men and women. You truly, truly have.
I feel that way. Certainly going out to stations and meeting the staff and the firefighters and medics, they are very well prepared, but certainly well equipped. Very seasoned, experienced firefighters and medics, and they do a great job every day, multiple runs and calls for service. They don't miss a beat, and that's really nice as the chief to have that.
It certainly is. And one of the things that we wanted to do with our viewers is kind of introduce them to you, let them learn a little bit about you and your background. Mm-hmm. And I know fire service is truly in your blood. I know when we first met, before the swearing-in ceremony and so forth, it's just been ingrained in you. Tell us kind of what made you first decide to join the fire service.
Well, of course, we all have those stories that our moms tell us about when we decided to get into a career or a profession, and so mine goes back to Abilene, Texas. My dad was in the Air Force, and we're on the runway for an air show, and the green aircraft rescue fire truck was giving rides, and so it's in Abilene, Texas. So there's a tornado warning going on, so they shut down the ride or the attraction. My mom said I threw the biggest fit ever, and the firefighters like, we can't let this kid go without sitting on and I was probably age 5 at the time, to give you my age, you know. So the firefighters gave me a ride, and my mom said after that ride on this fire truck that I'd said I will be a firefighter. So it goes, oh, of course I don't remember that, but I remember Abilene, I don't remember that incident. But so as the years go on and you try as a young person, try to decide through your junior high and your high school years and pre-college what you want to do, I was always led to emergency services because of lifeguarding and because a lot of my friends that were a little bit older, but not greatly older, joined the fire department. So you always try to find or follow what your friends do. So I was at that stage of 18 years of age. Do I military? Do I continue with college? And I applied and got into the fire department. And so it's been a great transition from being a young person who had that dream to a person now in the profession and serving in that capacity. And so that's kind of what led me into the service.
That's interesting, and you mentioned as far as, leading you into the service. I know I was taken aback at the swearing-in ceremony. I was not aware you had a twin brother who was also in the fire service, and I kind of, looked twice thinking, wait a minute, is that Chief? No, that's not him, but looks just like him. Now, did you both join the fire service at around the same time, or tell us a little bit about that aspect of your family?
I'll talk about Joe, my twin, a little bit, but I have a family in the fire department as well, so I'll start with Joe. So Joe and I went to college together at Old Dominion, and then I was in the fire department when he was concluding his college experience, and so he got into business. He just wanted to earn money and be that entrepreneur style person. And then he saw my schedule, and he said I had 5 days off to go surfing or play soccer, and he got a little bit interested when he was working 70 hours a week at Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and I was working in the fire department, and I was trying to work overtime a lot, and I was trying to stay busy. So Joe decided to get into the fire department. He got in about 6 years after I did. But when he did that, then my younger brother Daniel got in as well. So Daniel serves as well. And then Joe's wife, Christine, she was a teacher for 7 years, and then she saw the family get into the business. So then she transitioned from being a teacher over to being a firefighter. So I have a whole family that's right now serving in the fire department, and it's neat. It's nice. I don't think my wife cares for it, but at Thanksgiving conversations,
I was just getting ready
how's
to
the
say,
turkey?
With Thanksgiving around the corner,
run?
I could imagine, the conversations in this household for sure.
Yeah, so we try to leave it, But so it's it's not only rewarding, but it's great that the family has led into serving, in this case, in the fire department as medics and all. But I think service is what's so key. You and I just left the police department swearing-in ceremony for new police officers, and that same feeling of service, whether you serve as blue, serve as red, or serve in any capacity in the city, it's that feeling of service that I think is rewarding in public safety.
Now, you mentioned service, and that's definitely a key word. I think service is kind of at the backstory, I think, of pretty much a lot that you've accomplished throughout your life, not only locally, but on a national and international level. Can you share with our folks just a little bit about that as far as some of the responses that you've made to disasters across the entire world?
Well, thank you. Yes. As we develop in public safety, we're fortunate enough to be allowed to expand into committees or teams or response units. And so Virginia Task Force 2, which is based out of the sponsoring agency of Virginia Beach Fire Department, yet the local Hampton Roads fire departments provide firefighters and medics to respond anywhere in the country or the world in one of my cases. So being part of that since 1999, I was fortunate enough to attend the Olympics in Salt Lake City, Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, Haiti, the earthquake in Haiti, just some of the deployments, and just got back in 2017 from Puerto Rico, St. John, St. Thomas. And those responses, although we're serving another community, our skill sets and what we train for every day in the city of Suffolk or in the Hampton Roads community is delivering that service to people who don't have that, whether through their fire or rescue departments, or because the incident is just so large that their home fire or rescue department cannot provide those services. So search and rescue at the national level, there's 28 national USAR teams. It provides search and rescue, it provides breaking and breaching of concrete and how to get into void spaces based on collapses, rope work, doctors, engineers, communication specialists, and we would deploy the task force, 80-person task force, and deliver those services until the locals can then start providing, or the state, because the state is overwhelmed as well. I'm very memorable. I've been about 20 deployments, but going to the country of Haiti 20 hours after the earthquake and performing our skill in a third world country is something that will always live with me, but certainly provided services that not only everybody who responded there had to go through military aircraft. So logistically, it was very involved deployment. But certainly when we arrived, there was really no assistance from anybody other than our task force. The embassy was overtaken by search and rescue teams that were coming from all around the world, so the embassy wasn't of much help. So what we did for 8 days was really what we've been trained to be self-sufficient, self-supportive, and provide rescue services to the Haitian community. And a lot of good work occurred there. We grew as a team, and this is a team that has been to 9/11, Oklahoma City, large major disasters, but that was probably the most involved disaster that I've been part of to date.
So certainly bringing just a whole nother plethora of skills and expertise to our department, and in order to share that with the men and women of Suffolk Fire and Rescue. And basically, in closing, would there be maybe one thing that you'd like to share with our viewers, with the men and women of Suffolk Fire and Rescue, as far as where you see our department going in the future?
Absolutely. So, although any new director, department head has their vision, but my one thing that I want to share with the community and certainly with the fire rescue members is that regionalism is something that I want to bring and offer to the community, because this department is almost 300 people strong, and the community, the Hampton Roads community, there's about 1,200 firefighters from James City County to Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and of course the Chesapeake, Suffolk, and Newport News, and that whole region. And we have something to offer. The fire and rescue community has something to offer to the citizens of Suffolk, but certainly to the community, Hampton Roads community. So what I want to offer is the way to get into regional teams. MMRS, which is a medical response based team, to the Maritime Incident Response Team, which goes through the Port of Virginia Port Authority. FEMA USNR through being part of that team, so we can deploy to our communities in the Commonwealth, certainly in the nation, and certainly in the world. Our the communication bus that is a communication unit that sits at Station 6 in the city of Suffolk, it's the only unit in the whole Commonwealth of Virginia. It needs to be regionalized. Everybody in the region needs to know it's here, and we need to utilize it on the regional and the state and certainly national level. And there's that sense of serving. For example, Suffolk travels on the interstate highways from Newport News to the city of Chesapeake. We're on the interstate every day with Chesapeake firefighters and Newport News firefighters. We need to train and be part of each other as much as we are as part of our fire department. So that's part of regionalism, as well as the training and the coordination as well. So that's kind of my vision for the early part of my tenure here.
Well, Chief, again, we can't be more delighted to have you joining with us, and as I said, bringing Suffolk Fire and Rescue into the year 2020.
Yes.
And again, thank you for all you do and for all the men and women of Suffolk Fire and Rescue do to keep us and our families safe.
Thank you, Diana.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
that.
Thank you for joining us for today's edition of On the Scene. We'll see you next time.